everybody, today is my top 10 decks of cards. These are the 10 decks of cards that I will use the most in my collection. So a lot of you are probably going to think a few decks are missing, but these are just my personal opinion. I spent about 2 hours picking these and trying to decide which ones I handle better and which ones I like the most. And I've narrowed it down to these 10, so let's get into number 10. Coming in at number 10 is the Aviator decks. Now, what I like about the Aviator decks is when you first get it, it handles really, really nicely. The fanning's just great, and you can do whatever you want with this deck. It feels great, and it's a really cheap deck. It's only a couple of pounds, a few dollars if you live in America, and it lasts well for a little while. But the only problem is it does clump up after a little bit of use. So that's one thing I don't like about this deck, and also what I don't like about this deck is the back design. If the back design was changed and it did handle for a little bit longer, it would make a higher rank in my top 10, but this is number 10, the Aviator deck. So coming in at number 9 is the Red Monarch deck. Now before I even get into the cards, I have to say the box is really nice. It's embossed, feels really different, and you actually get something inside when it's not just white. I know that annoys the cardist very much, but this back design actually really pops. I really love the back design, and it's got thin borders so it looks really nice in fans. It is a bit worn out now because I've been using it for about 6 months, but it's still holding up really nicely. You can just see a bit of clumpage in the fans, and that's it. Now, they've only got minor changes. This is what Theory 11 do, and I love what they do with this. It's my favourite type of customization, just a slightly darker red and a bit of change in the court cards. Now something I don't like is in the Ace of Spades, it's exactly the same as all the other Monarch decks, the blue, the silver, the red and the others. But it would have been nice if they themed it, so because it's the Red Monarchs, maybe a shade of red in the crown or something like that. I would have think that would have really popped. But this deck does hold up really nicely. It does clump a little bit, but that's nothing major. So that's coming in at number 9, which is the Red Monarch deck. Number 8 is the Be Expert at the card table. Now I love the box to this. It looks like a book. It's really cool. I really like that. This is the V2 version. I have got the V1 version, but I haven't opened it yet. Now I love this sort of back design. I love that a B look on the design with a border. That is my favourite type of design. If I was ever going to design a pack of cards, it would look like this. Now what I like about this deck is the fact that it's held up so well over time. Really nice looking deck of cards, and the pips are slightly changed in font wise, which I quite like. And the Ace of Spades is something I really like. I really like that Ace of Spades. Quite familiar to the like the normal B decks, but not too similar, and it just looks really good when you're doing cardistry, and it just holds up so well over time. So that's why it's getting a ranking in my top 10. So that is number 8, the Be Expert at the card table deck. Coming in at number 7 is the Be World Poker Tour. Now what I like about this deck, it's got the checkered look as well, but it's just got World Poker Tour in there. Now what I like about this deck is the fact that it just handles so well. There are not any changes to the court cards or the faces, which I don't mind. I don't really mind the standard look. The Ace of Spades is exactly the same, but this deck just holds up for such a long time. You can see I've been using this for ages and it still fans great. You can do everything with this deck. You can do stringing, dribbling, all that sort, and it just feels really, really nice in the hands. So that's why it deserves such a high ranking, because it is going to last such a long time. So that is number 7, the Be World Poker Tour. Number 6 is the Fultons Chinatown by Dan and Dave. I love the look of this box with all the gold foil, and it's really nice. Now one downside to this is it's not as shiny on the cards, which is unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world. Now this deck just feels great in the hands. If you've had a Fultons deck, it handles for ages. It's got that really nice stock. It's not too thick and it's not too thin. It's definitely a deck that I enjoy very much. Red pips look kind of orange, which I quite like, and the court cards have been changed like Theory 11, which is quite nice. The Ace of Spades looks so cool. I love the look of the Ace of Spades. And this deck would just handle for ages, and I've literally played this for hours before, and it still handles great. So that's why it deserves such a high ranking. It's at number 6, and it's the Fultons Chinatown. Coming in at number 5 is the Rebels deck by Theory 11. Now, I really like the look of this box. It looks really cool and some nice embossing. The back design is so nice. I love the look of the back design. And Theory 11 have only done the slight changes, which is the type that I like. That's why I like Theory 11 decks, because they don't go overboard with customization. The Ace of Spades looks awesome. I really like the Ace of Spades. It looks so cool, it fits well with the deck. And this deck has got thin borders, so it handles really good. The fans look nice. It is clumping up a little bit, but it's still handling well. You know, you can do everything with this deck. It just feels great in the hands. It's something that I really enjoy using. And they're quite rare, so I suggest if you're going to get this deck, I'd get it now, because they are getting quite hard to find. So that's number 5, the Rebels deck by Theory 11. Coming in at number 4 is the original Smoke and Mirrors, not the reprint version, for a couple of reasons. Now, what I like about this deck, it's got a really simplistic back design, as you can see, and it's got slightly thicker borders, which I kind of like. There's some slight changes in the fonts with the cards, and as you can see, the red cards are actually a bit darker. Now, what I like about the court cards is they're changed a little bit, which I quite like. They're not over the top, but they are really, really cool. And the handling does not disappoint. It feels great in the hands. Dan and Dave really outdid themselves with this deck. Most decks by Dan and Dave are really good handling. That's why there are 2 decks in my top 10 by Dan and Dave, the Fultons Chinatown and the Smoke and Mirrors. But I really, really like this deck. I could use this deck all day long. It feels great in the hands. So I really recommend you getting it, because it's getting really rare. So that's number 4, the Smoke and Mirrors original. Number 3 is the Bicycle Skull and Bones deck. Now, not many people, I haven't seen anybody have this in their top 10 decks. Now, what I like about this deck is it just feels really good in the hands, right? And they've got really nice changes to the court cards, and that's something I really, really like. I love the court cards. They look amazing. And it just handles so well, and it's definitely a really nice deck. It looks good in fans, you know, the borders aren't too thick. This would have made the deck higher in the top 10, but this has let me down. You can see there's one index in bold and one is not. So when you mess up the order, you can see, you know, some are bold, some are not, and it just looks kind of messy, which is what I don't like about this deck. But other than that, this deck holds up really well over time. You know, you can use it non-stop. I have a deck in my room. I used it on holiday, I've taken it on planes, I've done everything. It just holds up for a very long time. So I really recommend you get this deck, the Bicycle Skull and Bones deck. There is a version called the Bicycle Skull deck. I'm not sure if that's the same, but you know, if you're going to get one, I suggest you pick up this one. So that's number 3, the Bicycle Skull and Bones deck. Coming in at number 2 is the David Blaine Split Spades. I'm sure you're not surprised that this is so high up in the ranking. I'm sure you'll know if you've had a David Blaine deck that lasts forever. I actually bought this deck used off eBay, so it's quite a struggle to actually get it out of the box because they sellotaped it. But you can see they've used it a lot. I only got this recently, but still handles great. Okay, I've been using this for ages. It looks really, really cool. It's definitely one of my favourite decks of cards, and it's one that I'll go to when I want to practice a really difficult move, like a pull spread move or something like that. And I love the back design. It's a killer back design. It's definitely one of my favourites. I really want to get all the Split Spades versions. I've got the blue, I've got the black. I just need to get the red now. I've also got the silver, but they're not hard to find. So the faces of the cards aren't changed very much. The court cards are, the faces are changed, as you know. This is the Ace of Spades. It looks really, really cool. But, you know, not much changes other than that. You get a double backer. David Blaine is actually on the King of Spades. So this deck does handle for ages. It feels really good in the hands, and I really recommend, if you can get one of these, I suggest you get it. I mean, these do handle a bit better than the white lines, I believe, because I've got loads of white lines in my room, but this just feels a little bit more comfortable in my hands. So if you can get this deck, I really recommend you get it. So that is number 2, which is the David Blaine Split Spades deck. Coming in at number 1 is the Crown deck by the Blue Crown. Now, if you've followed my YouTube for a while now, you'll know that this is my favourite deck of cards. And this deck is just, I love the back design. It's not too much, but it's enough. It uses Arco faces, and Arco faces are definitely my favourite type of faces. The Ace of Spades is really pops for me. You know, it's not too much, but it's enough. This deck handles really well. I've had this deck for ages, and it just handles really, really well. You know, it looks really cool in spreads. It does everything you want it to. You know, dribbling, springing, fanning, all that sort. Now, I've had this deck for over a year, and it's still holding up really nicely. And this deck is really cheap to get. It's only about £5.50 in the UK. That's about $7 in the US. So I really recommend you get this deck because it's definitely one of my favourites, and I'm sure it'll be one of your favourites too. Don't have any of the others, but I just like the red because the colour of the red really pops for me. I think it's a maroon sort of red, and I really like it. Also, before I forget to mention, the Jokers look awesome. They've just got a crown on it, and it says the Crown deck, and that's something I really like. Giant fans also look really cool in this deck. Number 1 is the Red Crown deck by the Blue Crown. Okay, so if you stuck around for this long, there's actually going to be a deck giveaway. All you need to do is like the video, you need to subscribe, and you need to comment what you like about this video. And the winner is going to get my number 1 deck, the Crown deck. So if you want to win a Red Crown deck, just follow the instructions. I'll leave the instructions in the description below. So I want to thank you all for watching my top 10 decks. If you liked it, please give it a like and be sure to enter the contest. The instructions are in the description below. Thank you all very much for watching this deck. If you have done a top 10 decks, please leave a link in the comments below, and I'll be sure to check that out and leave it a comment and a like. That's it. Thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.